Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear students. I welcome you in Pakistan International School, Taif's Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and in the virtual classes for the session 2020. And as you know, this is biology class for grade second year. And in this lecture, we will continue chapter number 20, that is about reproduction. And before we have completed male reproductive system, today we will see female reproductive system in detail. So in female reproductive system, there are some organs present, and that is somehow complicated system which carries a lots of function. Female reproductive system, its primary function, if we just talk about that, is the production of female hormones, formation of ovum or egg cells, and then development of offsprings. So female reproductive system is having some specific organs. Ovaries produce hormones, and ova is the plural of ovum, it means egg cells. Then uterine tubes are there, these are also called fallopian tubes, and they transport the ova. Then we will talk about uterus in detail. Offspring development is done in uterus. Then we will see a cervix, that is the protection of a uterus, like the tube by which the sperms can enter, and also gives the protection to uterus for entering anything. And then a vagina, that is also called birth canal, and female organ for copulation, or like the entrance of the sperm. Then external genitalia, there are some external genitalia portion, clitoris, labia majora and labia minora, but in that we will talk about these internal organs of that reproductive system. Dear students, first we will talk about ovaries. Ovaries are two, present on both sides of the abdomen, and then they are present under the chest cavity, below the chest cavity, and they are also called female gonads, and they produce ova and hormones. So the paired ovaries flank the uterus on each side, and each ovary is held in its place with peritoneal cavity by several ligaments. So the ovary has an outer cortex that is houses forming the gametes, and inner medulla that containing blood vessels and nerves. So each ovary, we'll see the diagram also, is about 3 to 5 centimeter long and 2 to 3 centimeter wide. And within the ovaries, there are many sac-like structures. These are called ovarian follicles, which consist of an immature egg cell that is called oocyte. Oocyte is called as egg cells. So now we'll see here that is ovaries composed of like two ovaries are there on each side. So that is follicles, or these follicles are called sac-like structures, and structure of ovarian cell, if we see, these are called oocytes, and then they are present in the follicular cells. So if you can see, this is ovary, one of the ovary. It is inner medulla, which is having blood vessels, and outside the cells are present the follicles, the places where the immature egg cells are present. They are growing. You can see here inside the follicles. Here the mature follicle is present, this one, and this is called Graafian follicle. And then this follicle ruptures and egg cells just releases from this, and it is ready for fertilization. That is called oocyte. This process is called ovulation. We'll just talk about all these processes in detail. And then this follicle, ruptured follicle, becomes as Graafian follicle, and then that is called corpus luteum. Now corpus luteum is degenerating, and again one more follicle is going to be mature. So that is the cycle which carries out at monthly basis. So you can see the ovarian follicle stages. First is, as we have seen before, that is primary follicle containing an immature oocyte. Then we are having Graafian follicle, that is growing follicle with a mature oocytes. Then ovulation, when the egg is mature, the follicle ruptures out and occurs about every 28 days. The ruptured follicle is transformed into corpus luteum. So uterine wall. Now this is after ovaries. This one is the second main organ of that reproductive system. That fallopian tubes, or these tubes are called uterine tubes, are called fallopian tube as well, and they receive ovulated oocytes. Oocytes means the after ovulation, when the oocyte releases from the ruptured follicle. So that is called oocyte. It provides a site for fertilization, because fertilization is occurs in, like for example, this is a tube, this is ovary. On both of the sides the tubes are present, and here uterus is present, here ovaries are present. So from ovaries the follicle is removed after ovulation, and this fallopian tube captures this oocyte, and moving oocyte from this fallopian tube, it sperm enters here, and then fertilization occurs here in the fallopian tube. It is also attaches with the uterus and does not physically attach to the ovary. It does not actually attach with the ovary, but it is having like this finger like projections with the ovary, and it catches the releasing oocyte, but they stick together with some ligaments, so they don't move from their place. Supported by broad ligaments at their back, they are having broad ligaments to support ovaries and fallopian tubes. As you can see here in this diagram, that there is oviduct, or these are called fallopian tubes as well as uterine tubes, and they are called oviduct as well, because these are the duct which captures the releasing oocyte. So you can see this is ovary, and these are not attached. These fallopian tube or uterine tubes, or these are called oviducts, these are not attached with ovaries directly. So oviducts are having three portions: infundibulum, ampulla, and isthmus. You can see here, this the broad part, this is having infundibulum, and infundibulum, this is the broad part, and it is having the finger like projection. These are called fimbriae. This finger like projection does not allow the oocyte to move here and there, but it just captures the releasing oocyte inside it. Then the next one, we are having in this tube ampulla. Ampulla is the long tube, long duct, which is continuation of infundibulum, and then we are having here isthmus. This is isthmus, the broad part, which is the connection of uterus and the fallopian tube. And you can see here broad ligament, this one, as well as ovarian ligament. This joins ovary with the uterus, and this is ligament which just joins uterus with the body, as well as at the back we are having another ligament which is stay in contact, which keeps these oviducts in contact with the body, so it does not allow the movement. Then we will see about uterus in the next topic. So here we can see uterine tube of function, fimbriae. As we have seen, these are the long projections, and they are finger-like projections at the distal that receive the oocytes. Then cilia are present. These are, if we can say, these are fimbriae. So this is fallopian tube. So it is having small ciliar structures inside that, which keeps the movement of oocytes slow. So it is waiting for fertilization and entering of the sperm. And then oocyte moves slowly into the uterus. Here uterus is present. So fertilization occurs inside the uterine tube. This is very, very important, that in the uterine tube anywhere the fertilization can also occur. Then we'll talk about uterus. Uterus is located between the urinary bladder and rectum. So they are hollow. Only one uterus is present, like this. Here is oviduct, and here is ovaries. Okay, so this is a uterus that is hollow. Inside it is hollow, thick walled, and muscular organ. Muscles are present in that, in its that is called in myometrium. So we'll talk about just in a few minutes. Functions of uterus: it receives a fertilized egg, it retains the fertilized egg, like it keeps the fertilized egg inside for longer period of time, and it also gives the nourishment to the fertilized egg by forming a placenta. Now we will see the regions of uterus. So you can see here there is body. Body is this main portion, this one, this main portion, that is called body of the uterus. And then we are having fundus, the area where uterine tube enters. So this portion where the uterine tube enters, these are called fundus. And then cervix, narrow outlet that projects into the vagina inferiorly, secretes mucus, fills the cervical canal, and block the spreads of bacteria from the vagina to the uterus. So the opening is called vagina. Opening is almost the longer one, and this is, we can say here, this one, this opening, that is cervix. That is very, very important because it is the narrow outlet. It opens when to deliver the baby, after like a pregnancy, when there is delivery. It also secretes some mucus which fills this canal, cervical canal, and that blocks the spread of uh, bacteria in the uterus as well as in cervix. It secretes a mucus, to easy entry of the sperms, as well to block the bacteria also, because it is having certain enzymes to kill that. Then we will see the walls of uterus. So the walls of uterus, the first one we say that this is endometrium. Endometrium, in endometrium we can see there is this is inner layer, and it allows for implantation of the fertilized egg. Endometrium is, if we just make uterus, so the inner layer, this is called endometrium, because this endo means innermost, so this is innermost layer, and it allows the implantation of fertilized egg anywhere. Here the implantation of the egg will be done in the endometrium. It also slows off if no pregnancy occurs, like the menstrual cycle we'll talk about in the next lecture. In this cycle, the bleeding occurs at monthly basis. So when there is no pregnancy, so monthly cycle repeats after every month, and this layer will be sheds off with the blood. Endometrium has two chief layers, that is called stratum functionalis and stratum basalis. These are also having the great role in maintaining the pregnancy, like in maintaining the implantation of the egg, as well as stratum basalis that just keeps the egg cell inside it, or functionalis that helps for the formation of placenta in the pregnancy, and if pregnancy is not occurred, so this layer sheds off. Then we'll see myometrium. Myometrium is the middle layer, which is this one, and this is having muscular, so smooth muscles in that. Yes, so childbirth or at delivery, this because this is having smooth muscles, so this layer contracts with the like the passage of time when there is delivery process. So this contracts and relax, so for the childbirth. Then we are having perimetrium. Perimetrium is the upper layer. This upper layer is actually the outer visceral peritoneum, like the external layer. This is just the covering of uterus. Then we will see the next part, that is called a vagina, that extends from the cervix, like this is cervix, from here to the exterior body, behind bladder and in front of rectum. This is present, so it serves as birth canal here also, and it is the female organ for copulation, like the sperms are entered here, are delivered here for the fertilization. Hymen is partially closes the vagina until it is a ruptured. Vagina is just closed with a very thin layer hymen. So when it is a ruptured, sperms can enter more easily. The most important function of this female reproductive system is oogenesis, as well as secondary characters are also developed, because here the lots of hormones are released. So this is the important function. It is the process of ovum formation. We know that is done in ovaries. So ovaries performs this function. So how this is done? First oogonia is done, and we know oogonia just goes through the mitotic division. So we are having oogonia and then primary oocytes. So after first meiotic division we are having secondary oocytes, and then first polar body is formed. If fertilized at this stage, like first polar body is formed and first meiotic division is done, so secondary oocyte is done. So the whole of the process of this oogenesis, that is stuck here until puberty, that is up to the before birth, it is stuck here, it will not move further. When the baby girl is born, she is having secondary oocytes. The first polar body is degenerated later on because it does not have cytoplasm and it is not attaining the nutrition, so it will be degenerated later on. So if fertilization is done, then secondary oocyte uh, changes into, we can say, into the next meiotic division will be done, and second polar body is will be formed soon after the fertilization. When sperm enters, this cell divides and just changes into one into zygote and another is the second polar body. So both polar bodies degenerated later on. But if there is no fertilization, so the secondary oocyte will be degenerate very soon and sheds off with what we have seen, the endometrium wall, and on a month, every month. Now we will see its process here, that ovarian cycle, how it is going on, oogenesis in that. First of all, ovarian cell, it is having 46 chromosomes, and again mitosis is done to increase the number. So primary oocytes, it is also having 46 chromosomes because mitotic division is done here. Now after first meiosis, or first meiotic division, two cells are formed, first polar body and the secondary oocytes is formed, which is haploid in nature. 23 chromosomes are present here. The reproductive system is held on, it will not move further up to puberty. When the first menstrual cycle occurs, it means now puberty has started. So this cell will shed off with the endometrium. But if there is fertilization, so penetration of the sperm is done and sperm will enter as it touches the wall of the oocyte, so the next division, meiotic division, will be done and second polar body will be formed and it will degenerate later on. And the fertilized egg, now you can see it is having two nuclei, so it will again form the zygote and it is having 46 chromosomes. So this is a second meiotic division which is done after fertilization. So here we can see oogenesis and we can see follicle development in detail with what we can say follicle development and in comparison are both of the things together, and ovulation in the ovary. There is oogonium, that is stem cell. After mitotic division, further growth, it is having primary oocytes. Here, the first, we can say ovaries are inactive. Okay, so primary oocyte arrested in the prophase stage, and in the prophase stage, and then ovary inactive at the childhood, but at puberty this will go on into primary oocyte, which was at 2n stage. Now the first stage will be moved on. Secondary oocyte arrested in metaphase stage at puberty. That is meiosis 1 completed by one primary oocyte each month. So each month this first meiotic division is done. Then ovulation is done, and ovulation means the one follicle is ruptured and the cell is released. When this cell is released, this oocyte is released. If the sperm enters and it unites, so what happened? Other meiotic division will be done and second polar body will be formed. So the polar bodies will be degenerated later on. Meiosis is completed now only if sperm's penetration occurs in female body. So here the fertilization is done, and that is ready for implantation into the uterus. So side by side we are going to see follicle development in ovaries. So first a follicle cell, that is called oocyte. Primordial, that is called primordial follicle, where the primary oocyte is present in this primordial follicle. Then primary oocyte, where it is arrested, it is in the primordial follicle. Then it becomes to primary follicle. Cell is not gonna change inside, but egg cell is not gonna change, but outside the layers of the cells are going to be increased. That is called secondary follicle. That secondary follicle, that gives the nutrition, the energy, some enzymes to the egg cells. Then after one meiosis, so first meiosis, mature follicular, that is called Graafian follicle. Now egg cell is present in very it is very small, but around it lots of cells are now grown up for its protection as well as for nutrition. So now mature vesicular structure, that is called Graafian follicle. So this Graafian follicle is now ovulated because it is ruptured too much. So that is ovulated secondary oocyte. Here the egg cell or oocyte is at first meiosis. What happened when it travels through, you can see here, when it travels through this fallopian tube anywhere, when sperm enters and fertilize this one, so now quickly it's gonna change in passes through meiosis 2, and then second polar body is released and thus fertilized egg is formed. Now this fertilized egg will move on and then implant anywhere in the uterus. So here at this stage, this process is called ovulation. Okay, so dear students, up to here we have discussed about female reproductive system and the function of female reproductive system. We have discussed about structure of female reproductive system, ovary, fallopian tubes, and cervix and vagina. Then we have seen the function of that is function of ovaries specifically, that is oogenesis. Inshallah, in the next lecture we will see the hormonal control of this, or hormonal regulation of this process, as well as the reproductive cycle, which is very very important topic. Wish you all the best. Inshallah, see you in the next lecture.